He calls me. He says, "Chuck, I've done 2 movies in Hong Kong. I want to do a movie now with a fight scene that everyone will remember." For decades, people wondered what killed Bruce Lee. Now, at 85, Chuck Norris has broken his silence. He doesn't believe the official story. He thinks something much darker happened that night in Hong Kong. Chuck was there during Bruce's final days, and what he discovered about that fatal mix of medicines will shock you. Bruce wasn't just unlucky. Someone gave him something that reacted with what he was already taking. The truth about July 20th, 1973 is finally coming out, and the confession will surprise you. Chuck Norris was born on March 10th, 1940 in Ryan, Oklahoma, a tiny town of about 1,000 people. His family was very poor, living through one of the hardest times in America's history. His birth name, Carlos Ray Norris, came from his father's minister, Carlos Berry. His parents hoped this name would bring blessings. Chuck's background was a mix of Cherokee from his grandmother and Irish from his grandfather. The Norris family struggled to survive on less than $500 a year. There was no hospital in town, so Chuck was born at home with just a midwife. These harsh beginnings taught him what it meant to fight against the odds. Growing up wasn't easy for Chuck. He was picked on because of his mixed heritage. Kids made fun of him, called him names, and tried to humiliate him. His Cherokee and Irish background made him stand out in a way that invited cruelty. He was quiet, shy, and developed a stutter, which made things worse. Bullies would steal his lunch money, push him around, and embarrass him in front of others. As a freshman, he weighed only 95 pounds, which made him an easy target. Sometimes he hid in the bathroom during lunch just to avoid trouble. These painful experiences made him feel worthless and even drove him to think about ending his life. But deep down, he promised himself that one day he would become strong and never feel powerless again. Chuck's father, Ray Norris, was an alcoholic truck driver. His drinking tore the family apart. Ray would leave for weeks, and when he came back, he was often drunk and distant. The family had to move, often staying with relatives to survive. Ray wasted their money on alcohol, leaving Chuck's mother, Wilma, to struggle to feed the kids. He never showed up for school events or birthdays. One of the worst moments came when Chuck was 12. His father promised to take him fishing. Chuck waited by the truck for hours, but Ray never came. He had passed out in a bar. These disappointments left deep scars. Chuck couldn't trust his father, and he grew up feeling unwanted. But in a strange way, Ray's absence also protected him from violence, as Ray's few interactions with the family were often filled with anger. When Chuck was 16, his parents divorced. It was 1956. Wilma finally had enough of Ray's drinking. The family had to start over. They first moved to Prairie Village, Kansas. They lived in a tiny apartment above a grocery store. Chuck slept on a fold-out couch. When they couldn't afford that, they moved to Torrance, California, hoping for a better life. Chuck worked at a gas station for 0.75 an hour to help with bills. He became the man of the house, caring for his younger brothers, Land and Aaron. They moved so often that Chuck attended 4 different high schools. He never had the chance to settle down or make lasting friends. All of this made him even more determined to build a better life. One of the most haunting moments in Chuck's life came from his brother Land. Before heading to Vietnam in 1968, Wieland told Chuck he wouldn't live to see 27. Chuck tried to calm him, but Wieland was sure. On June 3, 1970, just before his 27th birthday, Land was killed in action. The news reached Chuck on his 30th birthday. The loss broke him. He felt guilty for surviving and carried the weight of that tragedy for years. It also deepened his respect for the spiritual beliefs of his Cherokee roots. In 1958, Chuck joined the U.S. Air Force. At 18, he started at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas. At first, there was nothing special about him. He was shy and unsure of himself. He became an air policeman, guarding bases and enforcing rules. This role taught him about discipline. His real transformation began in Korea, where he was stationed at Osan Air Base. Bored and lonely, he joined a martial arts class. His teacher was Mr. J. Chul Shin. Chuck trained in Tang Sudo. In just 18 months, he earned his black belt, something that usually took years. He trained 6 to 8 hours a day, even in freezing winters. Martial arts gave him strength and confidence he never thought possible. When Chuck returned to the U.S. in 1960, he was stationed at March Air Force Base in California. There he guarded nuclear weapons and taught martial arts on the side. He charged only $10 a month for lessons. He even won a major karate championship in 1964 while still in uniform. He left the Air Force in 1962 as an airman first class. That same year, he tried to become a police officer, but the waiting list was too long. So he opened a tiny martial arts studio with just $800 in savings. He had no business experience and was still painfully shy. But soon, stars like Steve McQueen and James Coburn came to learn from him. His life began to change. There was one secret Chuck kept for years. While stationed in California, he had an affair with a woman named Johanna. He was married at the time to his high school sweetheart, Diane. The affair led to the birth of a daughter, Dina, in 1963. Chuck kept this hidden for over 26 years. The guilt weighed on him deeply. He sent money in secret to support Dina, while trying to build his career and support his official family. This hidden part of his life showed that even heroes have their struggles. Chuck Norris's path to martial arts glory didn't begin with victory. It began with defeat. When he first stepped into the world of tournament karate, he was humbled in ways that could have crushed most men. He lost badly to Joe Louis, Alan Steen, and Tony Tulliners. It wasn't just that he lost. These were crushing defeats that exposed every weakness in his fighting style. Tony Tulliners in particular beat him 3 times at the International Karate Championships and at the 1966 California State Karate Championships. Tulliners humiliated him again by defeating him in the finals. This was shocking because Norris had already earned his black belt in Tang Sudo while serving in the U.S. Air Force in South Korea. But his traditional training wasn't enough against American fighters who had mastered different techniques. Instead of quitting, Norris studied. He watched films of his losses. He broke down every mistake. He analyzed his opponent's moves. Bit by bit, he rebuilt his style. This determination turned his early failures into the key to his future success. In 1967, Norris shocked the martial arts world at Madison Square Garden during the All-American Karate Championship. This wasn't just another tournament. It was hosted by Grandmaster S. Henry Cho and drew hundreds of fighters and thousands of fans. Norris wasn't seen as the favorite. Joe Louis was the unbeatable force. But in the final match, Norris stunned everyone. He used what he had learned